Hello, everybody. Welcome to CongaMasterClass.com. Today is a very special day for us since we're having a reunion here featuring Mr. David Garibaldi, Mike Spiral, and myself, just like the old days with talking drums. So, we hope that you will enjoy. Thanks for visiting.
Hi, everybody. What a treat to get the three of us together again after probably at least a decade. A lot of memories for us, and a lot of wonderful opportunities that we had together. And Jesus and I thought it would be fun to something I don't think Jesus and I ever really did in the past was to get a chance to talk to David about kind of how he ended up really coming across us and intersecting with us. And so we thought it would be really great to have a chance to talk to David and ask him some questions. Questions that I certainly am curious about, not only from a personal standpoint, but also from a sort of a musical history standpoint. I don't want to ask you the old, so when did you first start, you know, that. But what I would like to ask is, what got you thinking about, for lack of a better way to put it, I guess, displacing things from your basic sort of 2-4 kind of R&B thing? What was it sort of, what was the impetus to make you go, well, yeah, okay, fine, but what if I...
Well, when I was in school, college, the teacher used to have these little exercises that with the drummers that we would do, where we would play something on the snare drum, and then one guy would play something else, you know, kind of answering, and then we would kind of like permutate it some way, change it around, switch voices, switch parts. And that's kind of where I rhythmically sort of like got the idea for all that permutation, displacement sort of thing. And then I just eventually ended up applying it to the drum set. You know?
So, I mean, just from a
but
sort of...
one thing that inspired it, though, was listening to Latin music and discovering that there was no 2 and 4 in it, but there's this groove, and that intrigued me. So I tried to, you know, put those sort of sounds and things on the drum set, you know, not with any knowledge, you know, just experimenting, just trying things I heard, you know.
So, I mean, not to sort of be too, you know, memory lane-ish about it, but like what was sort of your first, I'm not playing 2 and 4, but I'm still playing funk, but I'm displacing, like what, I'm assuming this is pre-Tower.
It really developed in Tower. That's where it really started to develop. It was just a concept before that.
Yeah. And is there a tune that you would say, this was one of our first tunes that really, I realized that I could put that in a tune and make it work within the, not just sort of a cool beat in quotes, but actually within the song itself?
There were like several things. And we did that Oakland Stroke, you know, song. That was kind of one of the first. And then actually I think the very first one was the one called Soul Vaccination. That was the very first one where we did a whole tune where there was no 2 and 4 in it, and we discovered that it would work.
And were they in on the joke with you? I mean, was this overt with the whole band, or just kind of you and Rocco doing stuff and not telling anybody?
Well, Emilio would sort of let me do whatever I wanted to do and let me come up with things. So there were no restrictions as to what I could come up with. He wouldn't say, you know, he'd sort of give me a little guideline and then he'd just let me go.
Okay,
you know?
so...
But we didn't know anything. I mean, we were just, you know, we were all experimenting. There was nothing, you know, no one guiding us, you know.
Well, okay, so play us, again, this is not just from sort of a memory lane, but also more from a, you know, the mind of Garibaldi.
Yes.
Like, give us here would be the way most people would play maybe this beat, and then I took it over here. Can you give us a playing example? I mean, not necessarily literally soul vaccination or literally Oakland stroke, but how you might have morphed from A to B to C.
I don't know how to describe that because it was really, things would just come up like creatively, you know. So there was no really kind of like A, B, C thing that happened, you know. It was all just kind of like we would jam, just like we did with the three of us.
Yeah.
Jesus would say, well, why don't you try this, and then we would like invent something.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was really, it was like that. There was no pre-thought sort of a deal. I didn't, you know, we'd come up with these songs. Like Emilio, when we did the Serious Side tune, he came in and he sang the bass line, dee-dum, bum, bum, dee-dum, bum, bum. So that's all he had was that bass line. So he said, okay, what would you do to that? So I had 2, 3. Like so.
Now, here's the interesting thing for me. By the way, Happy New Year, everybody. We're filming this on January 3rd, 2011. And just last week, the Tower played in Oakland, and I took my family. And so they played that tune. And the minute you started to play, my son, who's you've seen him a lot on the site with Jesus and myself, the minute you went there, we both looked at each other and started playing clave. Well, because, play it again, count everybody in
2,
if you would.
3.
So, and it, you know, we didn't do it, it wasn't planned, it's just, but we both hear we hear clave in what you play. So it's interesting you say, well, I was sort of listening to Latin music without necessarily knowing what it was per se, but that it was somehow in your consciousness, and then you're coming up with this beat that, you know, clave is the first thing that my son and I hear. So I think that it's interesting how much of the way that you were playing had clave in it without you necessarily knowing that that's what it was called or whatever. But that I think that's also what made it possible for our group to even exist.
Right.
That where you were coming from kind of had that. So that was a beat that was really inspired by what Mimi came in and sang to you.
Exactly.
Would that be true for most of the songs?
They always start with some sort of, you know, well, there was a few that were, I guess, beats, you know.
Okay, so when you first started hanging out with me and Jesus, were you bringing your, I'm trying to think, like, were you trying to just be strictly Latin, or were you always trying to bring your knowledge with you?
I just wanted to know about it when I went to see you guys. Like, I met you, and then I went to see you play. We were at the Caribbean Dance Center in downtown Oakland, and you guys were playing with Waya Khan. And you said to him, "Who's that guy staring at me on the stage?" Because I was there watching you guys play.
Right.
I remember that really well.
And then that's how we met, and then we started, you know, getting together. But initially, I wanted somebody to teach me about this music, and everybody kept telling me about Michael. So that was the first thing that I did was, you know, when I moved back to the Bay Area, looking around for somebody who could really explain the music to me, I met Michael, and then he introduced me to you, and then we started playing together, and, you know.
And here we are.
Here we are.
Okay, well, let me come at it from another side. If someone said to you, okay, what's a rhythm that you play, or a beat, or whatever you want to call it, that's right in between what you learned from Jesus and myself versus what the kind of stuff you were already doing? Is there like a sort of a...
Yeah. There is. There's a song that we did on an album in 2003, and the song is called "Pocket Full of Soul," and it's like it's really a shuffle, basically a shuffle. But I played it like 6/8, so the song basically is da 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 da, right? So I played 2, 3. That's directly a result of what
us
we
building
were
the
doing.
fences together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay. So normally a straight shuffle suddenly then becomes this hybrid, if you will.
Yeah.
What about in a duple thing? Is there something that you would say, here's something I've been playing, with the band that's like a kind of right in between the two worlds?
It's all the lines are really blurred to me, because I mean, when I'm playing some of these things, I'm thinking of a lot of things when the ideas come, So I think sometimes of like things that we did together and parts come from that. I mean, from all sorts of different, different places. I mean, it's hard to say how it comes. It's just, when you're inspiration, you draw from this and draw from that. But certainly things that we did, there are some similarities. And, I was able to understand, I think, what you guys showed me because of what I had already put together. I, had the 16th note thing going, and it was just like placement, like after that,
So let me...
Here's one that we used to do, like this. 2, 3, 4. So that's very like Tower-ish, I do a lot of things similar to that, like with Tower that have a similar feel and are constructed in this similar way.
Then let me go back to before, not literally, okay, before you, I mean, I grew up on R&B. I don't remember that much 16th note stuff. I remember it being more 8th note. Is there a thing that got you thinking, I'm gonna?
Well, it was all the James Brown stuff.
It was all JB stuff.
There was Greg Rico was Sly and the Family Stone, the James Brown stuff. It was all like 16th note oriented. It was all there. So, and then all we did with Tower, we just created with it. Using the 16th notes and triplets and kind of creating within the style, making up kind of our own music inspired by all of that. Right, and it just kind of ended up like.
But we still go back to JB as the godfather of that feel. Yeah,
and then listening to Ray Barretto, that was the first thing that kind of like got me interested in seeing that I could play grooves that had no 2 and 4 but would work. But listening to that, because it was like just that salsa music, was Orestes playing timbales, and hearing is how funky it was. And then I would just make up beats based on the things that I was hearing from that.
I got a question for you because, like the whole Tower of Power, the Oakland groove and all that is way before my time. When I came from Cuba in the early 80s, that had already kind of happened. So what would you say, because I always wanted to ask you this question, I never did, what would you say was the groove that created the Tower sound that became the signature? Oh, this is the Oakland funk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it wasn't a beat per se, as it was the way that we played the music. It was like a lot of 16th notes, and sort of we would just create, weird grooves and just try them and see if they worked. And it all ended up, being kind of almost like an East Bay style of music, kind of,
Okay, play. I mean, I suppose it's embarrassing to ask this because I supposedly should know it, but play me what you play for. You Got the Funkifies.
Now.
Yeah. This very minute.
See, that's like the basic part.
That's pretty funky.